Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hope. My name is Tammy Lynn Connors, and this is my YouTube channel and podcast. Today, I'm so excited for my guest. This is Marv. How are you tonight, Marv, or today?
Wonderful. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Today was my Friday at work, so it made my day a little bit better. so, so I met Marv on TikTok just actually last week. I was scrolling through TikTok, and you guys all know I always say that God, that's who I believe it is, whatever you believe, the universe or whatever, always puts people in my life at a great time. So I was watching some of Marv's TikToks, and I noticed that he was in recovery. So I just shot him a message and said, "Hey, this is what I do, and I would love to have you on my podcast." And luckily, he messaged me back. And Marv and I had we talked for a little over an hour, didn't we, Marv?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great conversation, and the vibe was just really good, and just talking about our recovery. So just so everybody knows what hope is. Hope is helping other people evolve. And I started this podcast just in hopes of helping people that are struggling to get to a strength. So how I do that is I am blessed to meet all kinds of people. They have unfortunately been through a struggle, but fortunately they have gotten to a strength. So when I share these stories, whether it's Marvin's or it's Mike's or it's AJ's or it's Jamie's, it's just to help you and help somebody that's laying in bed, sitting on their couch. They don't want to go do anything because they feel like they're struggling all alone. And when you hear our stories, I hope that it'll help you to open that front door and just walk outside and know that you can get through a struggle and get to a strength. So I'm super excited, Marv, to hear your story. I know we talked a lot, and I heard a lot of it when we talked, but if we could just maybe, start like back when you were young and how growing up was, and what your struggles were and how you've gotten to a strength now.
Oh, okay. Tammy, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I love what you're doing with Hope, because there are plenty of people out there who are struggling that are in really need of hope. So what you're doing is very inspiring, and it's very encouraging. It makes me want to just like when you said what you were about and to get on, and I was like, absolutely, man, absolutely. So like when I was coming up, my childhood is not condone. My childhood is what brought me to a place of like defeat and a place of pain, and didn't know how to really take addiction. My mom struggled with an addiction as we were younger, and my father wasn't really there like that at them particular times. So it was really hard. My mom had 4 children, and she was doing the best she can with an addiction. And so we did a lot of like moving back and forth. But I can say as a kid, like, regardless of her addiction, my mom always did try to raise us to be respectful, always did try to play with us and bring the humor and things of that nature. But as I started getting older, and as I started seeing more of her go downhill, I didn't know how to cope with that. And I became angry. I became sad. I became depressed. I became all types of different emotions and feelings. And I didn't know what to do with them. Like, I just felt them. I didn't have too many family members that enlightened me on addiction, like that would educate me. I say like, hey, your mom, she's going through this because of this. So I didn't really have a good understanding of what addiction was. I actually started feeling like my mom ain't love me because of what she was going through. And it hurt. It was hard to pay attention in school. It was hard to even enjoy life with what was going on at home. And I had to like lie a lot because of what was going on at home. So I started like, saying everything was good. When it comes to holidays, we didn't have certain stuff. I would say things that I had that I didn't really have. So this was just everything just starting to get on me. And I never try to bash my mom, though. Because till this day, she still struggles with a lot of things that happened in her past. And I love her so much because she didn't even give, even though we may have not had the greatest childhood, I know some people's parents who gave up on them, and she didn't give up
Right.
regardless of what.
Right.
So she still would do her best to try and make sure we were good. And so as a child, I was just coming up. I was going to different schools, back and forth with my grandma too. My grandma plays a good portion of my life because that's who I was living with when I wasn't with my mom. I was either with my mom or my grandmother, my mom or my grandmother. Now, my grandmother is one of them old church ladies. Like, I remember her making me and my brother go to church every Sunday, and we're young. And she'd be like, "What did you learn?" I was like, "God loves us." She's like, "That's easy. I need something else." Like, and she would put us in the corner. We would literally have to stand in the corner
Oh.
if and say something that I'm talking old school too. Like, my great grandma, which is her mom, water for dinner, get your elbows off the table, grace before everything. You better not put a piece of anything in your mouth if you ain't say your grace. So my grandmother was there. My grandmother played a major role when my mom wasn't there. You know what I mean? And I appreciate my grandma because she was the one that installed a little bit of that hope of God in me. I was a kid then, so it didn't really mean anything. But there's this scripture that says, "You train up a child in the ways of the Lord, he'll not depart." And I think that's what was happening. She was just bringing me there. I didn't understand nothing, but it's funny at where I'm at today with my relationship with God. And I think it stems from her just forcing me to be in there, or however that works. But
Yeah.
started when I started getting into my teens is when it started getting like out of control. And when I got into my teens and just started to learn a little bit about a little bit more about life and how things operate, um, I started to really not like my mom. I would argue with my mom. I would call my mom all type of names. I started hanging out on the streets, hanging out with, gang members, hanging out with people. You know, what I learned, Tammy, is most of the pain is on the streets. That's why I connected with the streets, because there was somebody who was going through like the same thing as me. A lot of people end up going to the streets because honestly, what's on the streets is a bunch of pain that doesn't know how to cope with life. So we just out there, we drinking, we're smoking, sleeping with different women, just doing that thing to try and numb what's really going on in our lives and our feelings. So
Yeah.
I would mind you, I didn't touch my first drug or drink until I was 17 years old. I did not like them. I was that kid. I was bad without the drugs. Like, I hung out with my friends. They smoked and drank, but I didn't do it. I saw what it did to my family, and I said, I don't want nothing to do with it. So when I was 17 years old, I remember wrestling with a friend of mine, and he broke my leg. And when he like had me in a bear hug and he pushed me forward, and I heard it go crack. So I tell my mom, it's funny, right? I tell my mom, I was like, "Mom, I think I broke my leg." She's like, "Boy, I'm telling you now, if that leg ain't broke, I ain't gonna be taking you to the hospital." And so I ended up breaking my leg in 2 different places. And it just got out of school that year. I just got out of school. It was the summertime. So I broke my leg right in the beginning of the summertime. So I was stressed out. And because of the way I broke it, I had a cast all the way up to my butt. All the way up to my butt. Like, yeah, it was bad. It was a long cast. So I didn't let that stop me, though. I was going to every party on my crutches. I was walking across town on my crutches. I was everywhere on my crutches. It was summer. And I remember from me being on my crutches so long, Tammy, I pinched a nerve underneath my arm. So now the same side too, my leg's dead and my arm's dead. And that was like one of the scary times of my life, because they said when I went to Allied, it's a place up here that they don't know, it just comes back. Like, they didn't have no more information. So they gave me this device that would hold my arm up like this and keep my fingers, because literally this arm was dead. Like, there was nothing. I was like, so I'm hanging around my friends, and I remember my one friend, he's like, "Yo, man, why don't we smoke some weed?" And I'm like, come on, man, you know I don't smoke. He's like, look at you, man. What do you got to lose? He's like, it's going to help you just deal with everything better. And at that time, I was vulnerable. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe he's right. It wasn't that fast, but he kept saying that throughout the day. And I smoked. And when I smoked, it took away all the feelings about me. My leg broke, my thing, I had the giggles, I had the munchies. It just took away everything that was going on for that time. And that's what I fell in love with. I was like, wait a minute. There's substances out here that aren't really, because it was weed to it, that aren't really that harmful, that could take away your feelings. I didn't think about what was happening as a child. I didn't think about nothing. I just was in a good mood at this particular time and wanted to eat food and laugh. And so
Right.
that's happening. I didn't smoke all the time though. It was only, you know how this thing starts. It was only
Oh
once
yeah.
once a week. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that because that's my thing. Once a week turned into 3 times a week. And it was like, yeah, 3 times a week. That's where I'm at. Then 2, then 1, then every day I'm smoking. Every day I'm smoking. Then I start
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes now. I realized through the midst of everything that I was going through, I was chasing the high. Because even with cigarettes, I never was a cigarette smoker, but they said if you smoke a cigarette after you smoke a blunt, it's gonna boost your high. So I'm like, oh, boost the high.
Oh,
Because
okay.
we know, Tammy, after a while, I never got that first high after smoking every day. So when I said, oh, there's something to boost the high, because I'm getting high, but they're normal highs. They're not that first one. So I'm like, okay, they say if I smoke a cigarette, a couple puffs of a cigarette, it's gonna boost it. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
So I
Right.
started smoking cigarettes, and that was once in a while. And then before you know it, I'm buying packs of cigarettes. Then alcohol comes on the stage. I wasn't into drinking, and someone was like, well, this is a different type of feeling. You could start to get more courage. And I was a shy person. So I had no confidence really with talking to women or just being vocal when it came to, as far as me and my friends hanging, absolutely. But in other environments, not really. So when I drink one night, I realized I could talk to anybody. I'm talking to girls, and I'm just real sociable, and then now the drinking comes in. So now I'm smoking cigarettes and drinking on a daily basis, and it just made things worse. My life just started to become unmanageable. It started to get in shambles. I'm always in altercations. I'm finding myself fighting and just in situations. And then eventually drunk. I remember one night being drunk. I honestly believe drink marijuana was my gateway, but marijuana had, like, it was funny because marijuana was like a seatbelt, like it was like I wouldn't do nothing crazy. Marijuana made me think, believe it or not. Like I would get
Yeah.
dumb
No.
and be kind of high in a room, but I was real paranoid about stuff. Drinking removed all the fear, like all the fears, no paranoia, it doesn't matter. So I remember somebody coming up, and I didn't play with ecstasy pills. I was terrified of them. I remember them in school, and I was like, I don't do that. But one night I was drunk, and somebody said, hey man, you should take an ecstasy pill. And I'm like, no. And he's like, come on, man. And he gave it to me. I sort of wanted it because he just threw it in my mouth. And then I did it, went back to playing around, or not playing around, just chilling in the night. Then I get a whole new feeling about an hour later. And I'm like, what is this? And that feeling he fell in love with, because that was one where I'm not sloppy. Because when I was drunk, you be sloppy, falling everywhere. When I'm high, I'm sleep. When I was on ecstasy, that was more like I'm alert, I'm awake, and I'm loving. Like I don't want to fight or any of that. I'm kind with people. And but then but then that got out of control, and I'm finding myself up till 7, 8 in the morning. The party's over, everybody's going to sleep, and not me. I'm still up. My eyes are like wide awake, up, I'm chewing gum, I'm smoking cigarettes all night, I'm drinking, and it just like, that was a cycle for a while, Tammy, a while.
Mhm.
And it was tiring. It was,
Yeah.
it got old. It was, then it went from Xanax to Vicodins to Percocets to all now I don't care. I just don't care about any,
Mhm.
and that's how I know taking care of yourself is very important, because when I didn't care about myself, I didn't care about nobody else. As much as I wanted to,
Mhm.
like I wanted to care about, like I wasn't mean for no reason. It wasn't like I was just walking around ignorant, but at the same time, because I didn't have really no respect for myself, I didn't really know how to really respect everyone else. I would do like the bare minimum. Like when somebody says hi to you, you say hi back. Like that's regular stuff,
Right.
And but what started changing in my life was when
Can
one
I
day,
can I stop real quick here though?
yes,
Marv, can I
yes,
stop real quick? I
go
want
ahead and
I want to back up, and I'm going to back up quite a ways here, but I want to kind of touch base with some things here that were pretty good points to me. So when you were younger, when you were talking about your mom being in her addiction, and then you feeling like your mom didn't love you, because I mean, all in all, when we are addicts, because I was that too, and I'm sure that my son felt the same way. Like, my mom works all the time, she takes care of me, but the love wasn't there, because it was more that I loved the alcohol or the drug more than that. But I didn't. And I talk about that in that speech that I sent you, the drug loves us more than we love ourselves. So
Mhm.
as you're going through that, that's one of those things that I think, especially with children that are with parents that are addicts, is you do feel like you're not loved by your parents. You do feel like that addicted parent doesn't love you, even though they do, and they're doing the best they can with what they know at the time. But then, like you said, you went to the streets, and the streets loved you, because all those people out there were feeling that pain. And I think that's a big thing that happens when we go into, especially when we start into the addiction. It's the people that we hang around. I mean, it's just like now, it's the people we hang around, but those people are so accepting of us. Like it's like they love us, because we're all in that same boat basically. So that's where you fit in, and they're like, come on, you can fit right
Yeah,
in here with us, right? And so I feel like that's how I feel about it. When you were talking about it, I heard that story come out of you. Like, I felt like my mom loved me, but didn't really love me. Like she loved the addiction more. And then going on the streets, I felt that love, really, that we think is love, because that's what we knew at the time. Right.
yeah,
And so when your friends are saying, hey, try this blunt, try this blunt, try this blunt, and eventually you're like, okay, I'll try it. So then you try it and you start liking it, and you're like, oh, maybe they're not wrong. Maybe these are my friends and they're really trying to, just help me out here. So I just wanted to add that I kind of felt that was kind of the way that I used to feel too, the same, like, and then they all accepted me. So here I was. And then it just continued to snowball, like you said. So I always like to like have little points in there that catch me, like, and I like to be like, hey, is this how you were thinking? So yeah.
I like how you said that though, because you gave me even more in depth of how to look at that situation. Because I did feel welcomed. Like you said, no one on the
Mhm.
streets, like no one's like, ew, your mom's doing drugs, or they're like, come on, man, come hang out. And I know after listening how you said it, like I know that even though to the naked eye it looks like, man, why would they do that? They're just offering something that's helping them. Like it ain't like they want to see
Mhm.
me hurt, but they're like, here, man, I've been smoking. I really been not dealing with everything that's going on at home. So this will help you. I'm telling you, this is what we all do out here. Do this. So it's not like they were really intentionally trying to hurt me. That's just the vices that they're using
Right.
at that time that's helping them actually get through the situation.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that I mean, it's not good that it was like that, but that's a good point to get across. I think, that's, and I don't ever want to think that any of my friends, because at that time they were my friends. And like you said, they weren't trying to harm me. They were just trying to be like, hey, this is how I cope with it. Come cope with me. They weren't at the point where they were like laying on the streets and stuff at that time, when we're 17 years old or 18 years old. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool how that all just kind of went like that. It sounded like that. And I want to add one more thing, and then we're going to go on to after when you're more into your addiction. But when the other day when we were talking, I said that we have so much in common. Just our talk was so good. So my senior year of high school, I was playing quarters. I don't know if you know what that game is, but it's a drinking game. And it was Memorial Day weekend, and I was jumping off my friend's porch to give my boyfriend, who was going to be my husband eventually, but I was jumping off the porch to give him a kiss, and I stubbed my toe into these bricks. Well, I ended up breaking the whole top of my foot. So when you're talking about the crutches, I got my graduation, I got my diploma on my crutches, and the whole summer was graduation parties, and the same thing. I was on crutches the whole summer, and I didn't get the nerve like you did, but I was like, when you were saying that, I was like, dude, we have a lot in common. So yeah. So anyways, okay, now let's go where we were at here. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I like to.
No,
If I get going, go ahead.
I said no, that's good. I'm glad, because sometimes, like, I feel like if you don't break it up, it's just like a ramble on. So like, I was glad to give me time to breathe and just recollect my thoughts and stuff. So
okay.
So I spiraled. I got out of control. I'm taking pills. I'm riding around with weapons. I'm portraying the street life, like, because you don't know in the beginning when you go to the streets all that comes with the streets. I thought, we just hang out and chill, but now me being around, oh man, you still see me?
I can see your picture. I don't see you.
Okay. All right.
There you are.
Yeah, I got it. 1 second. Hold on. Sorry.
He's got to put his do not disturb on.
Yes. Which, man.
It's okay. Listen, that's what I love about this. It's raw, it's real, and here we are.
Man.
Okay.
Like, yeah. So yeah, Tammy, you don't know when you go to the streets, everything that comes with it, just like addiction. I just thought I was going to smoke a blunt. Look at how much went. I thought, honestly, my intention was I was just going to smoke that blunt the one day with the person. And that was the only time I was ever going to do that. I didn't know all this came with it. So with the streets, I'm hanging around dudes that are like really angry and really about harming other people. And I got lost in that. I got lost in my pain, like where I'm thinking that I'm this person now that's, and really, to be all the way honest with myself, I never really was a fighting person. I never really liked hurting people, regardless of how I was brought up or whatever. I didn't like that. But I started, you are who you hang around with. I started hanging around and hanging around and hanging around it. I started hurting people, or when we get in fights and stuff like that. And this is when the turning point. I was always riding around with weapons, and one day I got into it with another guy. Thank God he didn't pass away, but I ended up shooting somebody, and I went to prison for 4.5 years. And that was when it got real for me. That was when, like, life just was like, I was like, what am I doing? How did I get here? And prison actually exposed me, because it showed me, are you really prepared for the life that you're going? Like, is this what you really want to do? Because now I'm in there with people that really do like fighting, people that really are into violence. There's no crew I'm with. There's no weapons right now. It just showed me where I really stood at in life. And I don't know, it really changed me for the better, though. And so I'm in prison. And in the beginning, guess what? In the first couple years, I'm still acting the same way. Like, I'm hanging out with people in there. We're joking, we're laughing. Pills are still coming in there. It's not as easy, but things are still coming in there. And I get caught up with that. And then I think I want to say it was like my 3rd year. I was sitting, it was a summertime, and I was sitting on the bed, and I don't know if they call that an epiphany or whatever it was. I just was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I was, what am I doing? Like, I'm in jail.
How old were you at this time?
I got locked up when I was 23.
Okay.
So I had to be, if it's 3 years, I'm 26. I came home at 28. But when I first went in, I was 23. And around 26 years old is when like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? And I remember just going to the Bible, man. There was a Bible around. I was listening. No, before I went there, I was listening to this guy. Now, mind you, in prison, I'm around so many different. I have friends that are Muslims. I have Christians. There's atheists. There's Buddhism. There's all type of stuff in there. So I had a friend though that was just telling me about God from a Christianity perspective, and I don't know what. I didn't even understand it, but something was resonating in my heart. Like I didn't understand it, but something just was just taking place. He was saying stuff that was feeling good, even though I don't understand what he's saying, but something's happening as he's telling me this. Cause I'm like, what am I feeling? And so I started just reading on my own. No one knew. Like I would like some days I would go, there was a Bible around, I would just start reading it. And things just started changing in my life. Like from me, and I think from me just reading it with an open mind and not saying, oh, this is a contradiction or this is stupid or just because I'm looking for help. I'm at a spot where I'm like, okay, I done tried the streets, that didn't help. I done tried the drugs, that's really not helping. Let's try this God thing. I don't know if he's real. I don't know if this thing's for real. I was all the options. I'm like, but I need something. I need something because this is not it. And I was reading things just start, and it was like it was making sense. I'm like, wow, this. And before I knew it, behaviors just started changing. I wasn't hanging out with people that much. Things were happening without me trying to change them. That's what's crazy. I wasn't trying to even change. Something was changing in me without me even trying. I just didn't have a desire to go hang in the bathrooms with everyone no more. I didn't have a desire to keep taking pills. It just stuff was like, I even stopped cursing in there. I didn't curse. I'm like, wow. Like, and I was that person that used to like, we use the N-word in our culture. My name. I talked like that every minute. I stopped saying that. And I'm like, what is going on in my life? But I was like, whatever it is, I'm not going to stop it though. So
it feels good.
Yeah. Like, this is good. I'm calling home. They're seeing the changes. They're hearing it in my voice. They're like, man, you sound grateful. I accepted me being in prison. I took accountability of why I was in there. No longer did I blame the other person or blame this, blame that. I started having a different view of where my mom was at, and just stuff was changing. And that's where I would say I had an experience with God that like changed my life, and I was reading and behavior started changing, and I started going to a Bible study in there, and it was good. And I remember though, so now I'm coming up on where it's almost time for me to come home. But because I'm a violent offender at this time in the prison system, they weren't letting violent offenders go home. You were getting a hit. I don't know why. And with a violent offender, they have to contact the victim to see if they approve of you coming home. They have a say when you coming home. But for some reason, I was at peace with whatever was gonna happen. And I remember feeling like I'm gonna go home on my first time. And when I remember sitting there waiting for parole that day, and people are coming out, they're like, yeah, I got a hit. And there's people that are getting hits that ain't even violent. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm done. And I just went in there, and I had two people interviewing me, because when you're violent, you have two people, and they do like this bad cop, good cop stuff, like how you see on TV. They're like, a guy, they'll want to ask a question. They'd be like, hey, so do you think you're a tough guy because you shot somebody? I said, no, sir. He said, yes, you do, or you would have never did what you did, screaming all at me. And I'm like, wow. But they're trying to see where I'm at mentally.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's screaming at me, but this guy's actually examining my facial expressions, and boom. So I'm like, at the end of the day, he can say whatever. I want to go home. I don't care what he says to me. Right. Like, but you won't believe how many people can't hold their composure in a situation like that. Like, people start flipping back out on the guy. So they don't tell you whether you're going home or not. But when they do say key things like, when you go home, what are you going to do different this time? So there was key things that they said that after I left, I was like, yo, man, I wonder. And then I remember my family, my dad getting a call saying, hey man, somebody came out to check out the home plan. And I was like, oh man, this is real. And I was preparing, and I remember
Right.
the guy telling me though, Tammy, this one guy, he was like, be careful out there. And I'm zealous at this point. I'm like, I got God. I'm gonna be good. I got God. He said, but it's different when you get out there, because the in here you're resisting temptation, but it ain't as potent because there's still guard. Like it's not. He said, when you get home, that real test is gonna be. And I'm like, nah. I was like, thank you, but I got this. And I went home. I came home. That had to be the day I saw that door opening like this. Had to be one of the happiest days of my life. Like it didn't seem, it felt like it was too good to be true. And when I came home, Tammy, I got to hug my mom. I got to meet my son. Oh man, that's a part two. When I first got
I was going to ask you about your kids.
When I first got incarcerated, I went in there. I didn't have no kids. I had a girlfriend that I was dealing with for a while, on and off for a long time. She got pregnant. She told me though it wasn't my baby, it was somebody else's. So we ended up breaking up. She left me in there. She comes a year and a half later into my prison sentence with this little baby. She's like, I need you to take a test because this could probably be your baby. And I'm like, huh? She's like, yeah. They give me the swab in there, and it comes back 99.999 and all this stuff. That messed me up, because before him, my son, I was just doing my time. I didn't have no responsibilities. I didn't have no kids. But when I realized I had a son, I think that's what helped that epiphany take place about 3 years later too, where it was like, what am I? I'm a father now. And I had a picture of my son on this cabinet in my prison. And I would just look at it every day and say, when I get home, I'm gonna be a good dad. When I get home, I'm just gonna do so much when I get home. And when I got home, I got to meet him. He was 4.5 years when I got 4.5 years old when I got to meet him. And I was so happy that I met him. And when I first, for anyone that may come across your podcast, you know, I fought for the relationship that I had for my son. And I see a lot of people give up, fathers too, on because of the opposition. Like my son, he didn't want to be around me. He didn't know me. He would cry every time he would come with me. His mom would actually not want him to come with me, but I did not give up. I started getting creative. Hey, buddy, I got lollipops. I got candy. Hey, buddy, look. I fought for the relation. There was times where I was gonna say, you know what? Forget it. I'll let him when he gets older. We'll talk about it. But something inside of me would not let me give up on my son, regardless of what was going on. So I fought for the relationship we have. I come home, I'm doing phenomenal, Tammy. I get my own apartment within maybe 2 months, 3 months of me being home. I get my own vehicle. I'm praising God. Everybody knows I believe in God. Like but I was like an arrogant person with God. Like I was, I'm working out in it. It was prideful. Social media, I remember getting on there. Oh, look at you guys, been home all these years and y'all don't got nothing. I got a crib already. I got a car and y'all, and it just wasn't good. And then before I know it, I slowly started letting go of the principles. I slowly stopped reading as much. I slowly stopped praying as much. And then I remember going out one night with some friends. Now, mind you, I haven't went out in 6 months. I didn't go out. I didn't get caught up in none of them scenes, but I went out this time. And I honestly think when you let go of the little things that are keeping you sane, when you start not doing them, you become more vulnerable to find. Because if I was doing them things, I probably wouldn't have ended up going out. But I went out, and the love, I was going to say, but the attention I got was amazing. Like dudes that I saw on it that I didn't see. Marv, what's up? You're home. What's up? Women on me like, yo, look at you. You look so good. And it opened up a door. And I didn't drink that night. I didn't do anything that night. I still didn't drink. And I went out, but I started going out a little bit more often now for that. And I went out one night and I was with a friend, and that's when he introduced me to spice. And it
What
just
is
got
what is
spice.
spice?
It's a
What is that?
synthetic weed.
Okay.
Like it's fake. It doesn't. So it's like something that doesn't show up in a urine if you were to give like a drug,
Okay.
like but it could demolish you. And I remember him letting me smoke. I smoke, and before I know it, I just went downhill.
Mm.
I let go of everything, Tammy. And I remember saying I never would, and I did. And I felt like I was about to let my son down. I felt like it was only going to be a matter of time before I end up in prison. Like, but even through all of that, Tammy, I will say, God somehow was protecting me, even in the midst of just like times where I'm like, bro, I don't know how you didn't, like, you know, and I don't want to like go too, because I don't want to incriminate myself either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So,
Yeah.
but, it was, I came to, and now this is where I come to the point. So I come home, I do get this relationship with my son, but I'm not there as much anymore because I lose sight of who I am. And I cry out one day. I was with my girlfriend, and she was going to work. She's not into drugs or alcohol or any of that. I mean, she drinks, but not like how we get in. And I remember crying on the floor, and she's looking at me and she's like, "You're disgusting."
Mm.
And them words that she said to me pierced me. Like, and I said, God, I cried out to God. I said, God, I said, I'm so sorry. I need your help. I said, I need your help. I said, if you're real, I need your help. And I cried like that for about 25 minutes on a fetal position, like with my head in my hands, looking at the ground, just laid out. And when I tell you, Tammy, a presence was in that room. I didn't see nothing. I'm not going to say I saw something or anything, but something was in that room, and it was like, it got lifted. The desire got lifted off me right there. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, whoa, I don't want to do drugs no more. I don't want to live wrong no more. And my life has just been completely changed. And that was 6.5 years ago since that happened. And when I tell you, it had to be something supernatural, because the fire is still there 6.5 years later. Like most people, you know, like people after a while, it gets boring. No, I'm still fired up 6.5 years later. I'm still super grateful 6.5 years later. I'm still smiling from ear to ear 6.5 years later. Like, I'm like, man. And
can I stop real quick again?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to go back again, and I want to go back to when you said, like, so here you are, you got your own place. And I do want to say this little bit too, because, you know, you always hear people go to prison, they find Jesus, right? I mean, it's a common thing, right? And like you said, yeah, in your prison cell, in your prison, you find Jesus. And they said to you, be careful out there. And there's a reason why they say be careful out there, because now you got to go out and live life on life's terms again, right? And if you don't have the tools, and you did have tools to start, but then, you know, then you start becoming complacent, and we talk about it a lot. You know, I think about it a lot because I always tell anybody new in recovery, never, ever, ever forget how sick you were. That day that you said, I am done, don't forget how sick you were that day, because I remember, and mine, like you said, you know, 6.5 years, I'm over 18 years now. And I can tell you, I can still remember the taste of the bile in my throat, for the fact of the matter that I will never forget how sick I was. But you have to have those tools. And so I listened to you say you came out, and then you became arrogant, right? The humbleness was gone. And then you get your own place, right? Now, all of a sudden these things are happening. And you said, I stopped reading as much. I stopped doing this. I stopped doing this. And now you start coming back around those people again, right? And now they're welcoming you back now. And now I'm thinking, when I think about people welcoming me back like that, it's not so much now for the love. Now it's like, oh shit, he's leveled up. He's doing better. We can get him back to our level. Right. It's not, because now when you're leveling up, those people are like, oh, wait a minute. And they're either going to level you back down or you'll never speak to them again. It's unfortunate, but that's the way that it goes. So that's what I was hearing. And then you went out and now you feel worse than you did, because now you're like, great, here I am back using again. But the thing is that, once again, when I say we relate so well, is the day that I decided to quit, and I quit because of my son, because my dad died when I was 13. We found him in the bathtub, drowned. And I sat in that living room and knew that if I continued, my son was probably going to find me dead. And I didn't want to do that to my son. That was the biggest thing. But we talked about this. I did the same thing. I laid on the floor, I screamed and I cried. And I said, God, you have to help me. I cannot do this anymore. And that was a little over 18 years ago. And I'm still, here I am. And I still dance and I still have fun and I still live life. But on a daily basis, and I'm sure you'll talk about this a little bit, I have tools that I have to use to get through my everyday, because I mean, something can happen in life. And if you don't have those tools, man, you're going to be right back out there. You're going to be the excuse of, I lost my bonus son in 2012 in a car accident. And he'd been my bonus son since he was 18 months old. Nick was like my son, and I could have easily said, I give up. I'm going to go drink because Nick just died. But instead I used my tools that I have learned throughout my sobriety. I used the things that I've learned and kept those tools like in a little toolbox, I like to say, over here on the side, and I grab them out of there and I use them on a daily basis. So, and I'm sure that's what you do now too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can touch on that a little bit, because I know that, like, so 6.5 years, and I watch you, man, you are like out there. I know what else I want you to talk about, because I heard you talk about on your TikTok live the other day about your job that you have now. How about if we talk about that and then we'll talk about those tools?
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I got, I remember just volunteering at a lot of sober events. Like, I'm pushing it heavy, like volunteering. Somebody's like, you should go get your CRS certificate. And I'm like, what's that? They're like, they'll put you in the field of working with people in addiction. And you don't got to be, all you got to do is have time in addiction. And I was like, what? But when I found out, it was like $1,000. So it's crazy how this happened, because this lady believed so much in me. She found all the resources for me to get a grant for me to go to this training for free. I didn't even look for any of this.
Okay.
And so she puts me into this thing. I get my CRS. Now I work at a MAT clinic. I work, they have Suboxone, Sublocade, Vivitrol. And I have about a client load of 30 to 40 people. I've been doing that for 5 years in July. I've been working in the field of recovery, helping those who are struggling. And I will say, Tammy, it's tough. It's not what I thought before I went. I'm gonna go in there. I got a story to say, and I'm gonna change people's lives.
Right. Well,
people in addiction are tough.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta be. I don't even recommend when I'm talking to someone, depending on where they're at, and I don't recommend somebody even just jump in the field to try and help people if their foundation isn't strong. I saw so many people, CRSs, at my job. I lie to you not. I'm not fronting. I'm the only one left that started there. And I saw 10 people in and out of there. Couldn't last. 10 people that was, yo, we got this. Gone. I'm the only ones left at my job. I'm like honestly, humbly, the big shot of the CRSs there. Because we got a bunch of new CRSs there now. But I'm the one that been there since day one, since they started the program. But it's tough. It's tough.
I bet.
Not everyone's ready.
Right.
And you want them to be, and you want to use your story, and you got to watch, because in this field, you got people that you're going to meet just like you. You got people that's going to say some things when they're sharing their stories that could trigger your triggers. I had a lady that reminded me of my mom. A lady just was like my mom. I found myself, getting aggravated with her. But thank God, because, the relationship we have with God and the tools we practice today, Tammy, I was like, Marv, look at what's going on. All right. So I don't need to really meet with her no more, because I don't honestly think I'll be able to give her the best care, and being humble enough to admit that about myself. Like, you know
Mm,
what? I don't think I could give her the best care right now because there's some things, or, you know, women that you come across that are attractive and vulnerable. You got, like, it's a very dangerous role in a sense. Like, you got to just make sure you're prepared and you have a
mm.
good, like what you said, them tools. If you do not have no tools to be working in the recovery field, please just don't do it.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you have
No, and
anything to
that's,
say on that?
yeah, no, that's so true, because here's the thing. I just went back to work at the casino that I work at. And I worked there for 6 years as a dealer. And in the beginning, it was fun, right? I loved it. But then in that field, you see a lot of addiction. Okay. There's a lot of gambling addiction there. And it crushed my soul. And then I see the depression with it. And then the dealers are like miserable working there. And it's a really miserable place. But I had an opportunity to go back. I quit 4 years ago. I had an opportunity to go back. I had a nice bonus, and I'm focusing, on my podcast and my books and stuff. But I had a few friends are like, are you sure that you're going to be okay there? Right. And so every morning, I have my tools. So that's the thing. I get up, I pray, I do my devotional, I do my gratitude, I get in the mirror, I tell myself, all these great things about myself, because somebody's got to do it. And then I go to work and I listen to my Christian music on my way to work, and I put that armor on. I just said to a friend today, I sent him a message and I said, man, I really had to put that armor on today. And he said, always remember, all you have to do is ask for that armor and it will be put on you. And it's so true. But if we don't know that these things, like you said before, like when you went back out and used again, like I could go in this casino, I've only been back 5 weeks. And if I didn't have that, I would be like ready to go crawl in a hole right now, because it is depressing. But every day before I walk in, and this is kind of maybe what you do too, and I don't know if you do or not, but maybe this is something like I say to myself when I'm pulling in that parking lot, I'm like, okay, God, whatever it is today, I am going to be the light for somebody. Maybe I'll be the light for a lot of people, but I'm going to walk in there and I am not going to let negative people hurt my day. And you're not, I think and a lot of it's the addiction too, I have to look at them like that. Like, I'm like, man, cause sometimes I'll be like, oh, and I'm like, man, they're addicted. They have a gambling addiction, instead of being angry about something, then just I have to have compassion, right? But like you said, I have to know my limit on my compassion, and if the lady's triggering you and that because she's reminding you of your mom, and not that she's triggering you to go back out and use, it's more triggering you that you're frustrated and you're like, come on, just come on, right?
Yeah.
So that I can't work with her anymore. And the thing, like what you said with the beautiful young ladies, or even, me with men, it's the same thing, like that vulnerability and all that. And then we got to watch ourselves too. We have to protect ourselves too. So I like that you said that, though, that you're learning what you can do and what you can't do, and
Yeah.
being okay with admitting what we can't do. It's okay. We can't do everything. We are superheroes, Marv, but we're not like can do everything in the world, right?
It's
Yeah.
funny, man, because it's almost like I'm as strong as I am today because I know how to admit how weak I am today.
That's so good.
You know what I mean? And that's how, like, because it actually, there's a scripture that says God's strength is revealed the most in our time of weakness. Now
Mhm.
he's like, let me do my part, because you're super strong, and we want to be strong all the time, and there's a time for that, but then there's a time where it's like, all right, could God be God today? Like, you can't handle these type of emotions, and I know you don't want to tell Tammy and all them that you're having a bad day because they're used to always seeing you smiling, but get out of that.
Right.
Because you're gonna get your strength by you just admitting that you're weak today. So I actually boast now when I'm weak, when I'm going through things. I got to say it because I know I'm going to get some strength from me just saying how weak I am today.
Right. Right.
Get some strength.
And you know what I think too, doing that, honestly, and that's why I do this podcast too, to let people know that we've gone through struggles, but to let people know that we still go through struggles, right? Just because I'm posting on Facebook, my inspiration and things, and I put things on there to make people think a little bit too, that doesn't mean that we don't go through things, right? I just don't put, I mean, I'll talk to people, like I have my circle of people that I talk to about things that I'm going through. And I'll put on there if I'm going through something, but I like people to know that I didn't get here today, right? I didn't get here the day after I got sober, or 3 weeks after I got sober, 6 months. I mean, I really started learning more of who I was in the last probably 5 years, and I always like to remind people that we have days too. Every day's not, we don't run outside and it's rainbows and unicorns and there's this big bubble of shield around us that says we're going to completely protect Marv and Tammy from anything from the outside.
Right.
No,
Right.
we still go through a struggle, but it gets us to a better strength. And for us to be vulnerable enough, I guess, to share that with people, it just shows them that it's okay for them to have a bad day too. It's okay, but don't stay in your bad day, right? You need to learn how to get out of your bad days, but you're still going to have them. Life's still happening. No matter what we go through, life's still happening.
Yes.
So I like that you said that like that, it's like you said, you share your grief a little bit or whatever struggle you're going through a little bit, but we come back out of it. And that's the thing I think people need to see,
Right.
like, and I hear you talk a lot. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
When I go to work, I always sometimes I'll tell them, like somebody that I'm dealing with, I'll switch up sometimes. Like I'll be like, here, you can sit right there, and it's behind like the desk. Cause I said, don't let my seat fool you. Like, I'm one decision away from my life. Because sometimes they could come in there and you could just, like you said, people, oh, Marv got, hey, one decision away from the roles changing. This seat don't make me who I am. So I'll let people sit there and I'll sit on the other side, or when they come in, I might sit on this side of the room and sit next to them just to show them not to be, because sometimes you could be intimidating in them roles. I love my job because honestly, Tammy, I'm able to dress like this. Like there are times where I will wear a button-up shirt and some khakis, but there's other times I'm in my jeans, my boots, a t-shirt, and a hat. People at my job don't even know really I work there. But they will always say, man, that guy just walks around so low, smiling all the time. Like, you know what I mean? But I want people to know that, like what you just said, it is not just butterflies and rainbows on this end. And I do not think especially after I went through when I lost everything, I will not take any of this for granted again. I will not allow some type of pride to creep up, because I could be on it happens quick. It happens quick.
Yeah, and it does. And I like what you just said there too, because, I say this a lot too, just like you said, I get up in the morning, I put my pants on, right? I button them up, I zip them up. You get in the morning, you pull your pants up, you button them, you zip them. The addict does the same thing. They get up in the morning, hopefully they have a place that they can do that, but they put their pants on, zip them up. The CEO of a company gets up and does the same thing. We are people. That's it. Plain and simple. I am not better than anybody and I'm not lower than anybody. But one day, people, I feel like, especially us in addiction, maybe we learn that quick. Like there is nobody better than me and there is nobody worse than me, right? I'm not better than anybody else. And I feel that is such a big thing to have, is that compassion, to know that, like you said, you're walking around in your jeans and a hat and people don't even know who you are. I love it when I meet somebody and they're in blue jeans, a t-shirt or something like that. And then you're talking to them and you find out like they own a company and they have all this and they have this and they have this, but they stay so humble, they're not out there like, and they're giving. And that's the other thing that we've talked about, like giving. That's all we want to do is give. I might not be able to give you material things and money, but I can give you some hope, and I like that whole thing of like, they're not on a different level than you. Like, you're like, man, dude, I was right there, the same spot you were. I was there. I can totally relate to what you're saying. I don't tell people I understand what you're feeling. I always say I can relate to what you're feeling, because we can relate. I don't know what you're feeling. You don't know what I'm feeling, but I can relate because I've been through some dark times and dark roads. But I think it's having them know that, no, I'm sitting next to you as your peer, not as here, and I think that's important for us, for sure. Yeah.
I can't remember what you said. The next thing, it was talk about the CRS, and what was the other one? You was like, and then say, say that
I
because we went
forget.
up, and that always happens. You could just go off about something, and
Yeah. Well, we were talking about your job. Gosh darn it.
then you were like, "Yeah, talk about the job first, and then we'll get into that." And
And I forget what it was too. Well, here you are today. We're gonna go with this.
yeah. Well, here I am.
Maybe we'll click. Dang it, I should have wrote it down, but that's okay because we'll do another podcast. Here you are today. So here's Marv today, 6.5 years later, sober. You got a good job. I see your clothing all the time. You got different inspirational things on your shirts. I love that. Like tonight it says faith first. Is that what it says? Or faith
Life.
Faith life. I love it. And so I've seen a lot of those, and I did talk to you a little bit about, you do have a website that I can put the link in here, once I launch a podcast for people. But so what does life look like now for Marv? So now you've lived on the streets, basically. You shot somebody, thank God he didn't die, in prison, came out, doing good, meet your son, go down another road of
still on parole right now as we speak.
Oh, still on parole right now as we speak. How long are you on parole for?
They gave me 4.5 to 9 years with 4 years special probation. So I did 4.5 years in prison, been home 4.5 years, and now I'm into the 4 years of special probation. Like I'll be off everything in November. My PO actually came to see me today, and I could share this so transparent. I love that. Like, this doesn't, she's out there, right? She comes, mind you, she doesn't come because I'm doing so good. She doesn't even really come. I haven't seen her in like maybe 4 or 5 months. So she comes over and she's like, I'm like, oh, you finally show up to do your job. Like, I'm like, I missed you. What's going on? So she starts laughing. And Tammy, we're like the same. We're giggly. Like, I don't, when it's a PO, like, man, she's a person. Like you said, we all pull our jeans up. That's a person. She has feelings just like me. She's going through things like me. Yeah. Don't you know, I talk to my PO, like me and you were talking, we have good, I'm asking how her family's doing and things of that nature. She's probably not even used to that. But she gives me the breathalyzer. I'm outside cutting the grass. She's like, I gotta do this. I said, I don't care, unless coffee's gonna get me in trouble. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Right. So she gives it to me, but she's like, you wanna go in your house? Because we were in my backyard. I was like, why? She was like, your neighbors. I said, I don't care. I said, I don't care about none of that, Ellen. I said, that's not me. I said, because that's not who I am. That even though I'm doing all this, I know who I am. Just because I'm doing a breathalyzer, I don't care what someone views of me today. I know who I am today. So they see me blowing in that. They can have their thoughts of me, but that doesn't change who I am today. And I love that about myself. I'm starting to love things about me that I didn't even know I could love about me. Like, I'm transparent. And I think that's what makes me as effective as I am, because of how transparent I am. I don't have to hide nothing from no one. I don't want to use my transparency, though, to disrespect anyone or use it as anything that could hurt anyone. But I'm like, in the same time, I'm like, I don't care. And she's like, wow. But yes, I am on parole. So.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. The kids is coming in. I'm just gonna go off. I forgot they were coming back this fast.
Oh, well, we've been on here a little while too. Now we're.
So I hear you, Tammy. I'm just going to a different location.
Okay, that's fine. So, so when he goes to a different location, so that's the thing. Like, I know you have one son. I don't know how many kids you have. If you want to share with everybody, like your kids, what's happened in the last 6 years too. Like, I know that your life has changed a lot. I think I saw maybe you on a trampoline and you kind of did some like letters on the trampoline of like things that have happened throughout your recovery, like that have been positive in your life.
Tammy, things happened that I thought were impossible for a guy like me that comes from where I like for one, holding a job for more than a year. I never held a job for more than a year. Them giving me keys to the job. See, people, there's something about us. I like to say people that went through addiction were unique, and because there's a certain type of appreciation I have today that you can't really even get this appreciation if you ain't really go through this. Like, see, people that come from the struggle know when I got the keys to the job, it was a big deal for me. See, so other people might, what do you mean? Well, the fact that somebody's trusting me today, that they're trusting me, I have keys to the building of a job. Those are big deals for people that come from addiction, and we not never being in a place where we thought that. So like, I got the keys to a job. I maintain employment today. I'm going to work. I'm coming up on 5 years at the same job, not one write-up.
Right.
Like not one write-up, just doing what I'm supposed to do. My boss at the job had a safe. She's like, can you go drop this off at the bank? And I'm like, well, why you don't have? I didn't want to do it because I was doing something else. She's like, I don't trust nobody else. That spoke to me. Me of all people, I'm the guy walking around with the fitted hat, the jeans. There's people with dress clothes on, and she's like, I want him, because she could see the genuineness. You know what I mean? I'm like the stuff that I have today, that sobriety offers, and just the right mindset, and with God, is priceless. You can't buy it. You can't buy this stuff. But I do have a job. I'm able to maintain employment. I got married. I never thought I was going to get married.
Yeah.
I was the person that I saw my mom talk to different guys. I saw her get married once, but I didn't believe in marriage. So I got married. And then on top of that, I've been loyal in my marriage. So like, there's just things that are happening. I bought a house.
Yeah.
I never thought, all right, I'll say, at one point in my life, I thought I was going to do good, better than what I was, but I never thought I was buying a house. Never bought a house. I'm like, wow, taking care of my son. I have 2 daughters, but my wife had those before we met.
Okay.
So but I've been in their lives for about 7 years now. So I've been in their lives for a while. I pretty much watched them grow up. But I'm responsible today. I'm reliable today. And these are things that I've achieved in sobriety, achieved with God by my side. And I just know that what makes me confident, and I'm sure, Tammy, when you talk to other people, when we share this hope, we know that it's possible for the next person. So like somebody that's going to come across is going to be like, oh yeah, but no, this thing is possible.
Yes.
You just got to be willing.
Yeah.
You might cut some things out of your life. See, there's things that we have to do for it to be willing, and they're not major things. They're not really, like, you don't need $100,000 to start making better decisions.
Right.
You don't need a PhD to stay out of a toxic relationship. There's things that we think, it's little simple things we can do that can bring tremendous blessings into our lives. Just if we do little free things, they don't cost nothing.
Right. Yeah. That's
so
good.
Like and I know that's how passionate you are, because we know that it's possible for the next person. And that's why, like how you are, I love going out and talking to people, empowering them, because I know if it was one thing about God, he's no respecter of persons. It ain't like Tammy's my favorite or Marvin's my favorite because he reads a devotional every day, or because he'll check me. There's times where he's like, okay, even though I may do everything right and someone's doing wrong, I still love that person just as much as I love you. And that's what God. I still love that. Even though they're cursing me and all that, I still love that person just as much as I love them. So we're not no special people. You know what I mean? So this thing is available for anybody out there. I don't care what you've done, what you said, where you were at. You just got to start just doing the little things, And the one little thing, maybe somebody just listening to this podcast. That could be a little thing that could probably change your life. But I do have to say this one thing, because you were saying about the dark times. And I do want someone to know I had a lot of dark times in sobriety. Like there were a lot of things that happened while me being sober. Like you said, with you, like I lost the mother of my child to an overdose while being sober, being at work one day. Now, mind you, at my clinic, I hear about people overdosing. Honestly, it's a part of life. That's what happens. I didn't think nothing out of it. But you know what? When death comes knocking at your door, it hits differently. When I got the phone call saying your son's mom, even though I work in the field, even though I know this is common, it broke me. I said, what? I left my job. I left. They were like, okay, it's okay. I left. And I was mad. I was mad at God. I was mad at life. But you know what? Even in all that anger, I still really didn't want to pick up. Even with all that. Like, thoughts were coming, but it wasn't like, because now I'm looking at it like what you said, like there's so many tools I have. I think I'm so mad because I know what I can't do today. Like there's too much I know to where I can't even do what I want to do because I've put too much work in to just fold it. Now, if I didn't have no tools, then of course it would have been game over, but it's going to be hard when you put so much into your recovery to just throw it all away when dark times happen, because that's where all the tools come in. Well, you can call somebody, well, you can pray, you could do this, there was so much there and then what really spoke though was, I can't let my son have two parents go on him now. So why would I do that? He needs his dad. And what better person to be in his life to help him through this than somebody that went through recovery, but is also his father. Yeah. So I get to give him answers that weren't given to me. Like, remember I told you, no one told me about my mom and addiction, and I thought she didn't love me. I tell him, she loved the hell out of you, boy. Don't you ever think she ain't love you. You didn't do nothing wrong. I get to give him stuff that no one was giving me. So it's beautiful, even in the midst of all that darkness. Yes. Do I want her back? Absolutely, I want her, and I'm mad that it happened, but there's still beauty. Still beauty. Yes. Our pain, it's instruments. Because, like, I'm sure you came across people that incident that happened with your, that person, your loved one, is helped someone else. I'll never forget, I was in my job, and this is like months later. A girl comes in and she's sharing with me. Oh, she comes in a wreck. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I lost my kid's father to an overdose. I said, oh, man. I got up, I gave her a hug. And then I showed her the picture. She's like, who's this? I said, it's the mother of my child. I lost her to an overdose. She said, for real? She said, and how did you get, see, this is where it comes in. See, Tammy, this is why sometimes the pain yes, it's going to happen, but it's about to bless somebody else, because she saw that, hey, he's still walking around smiling. He's still going to work every day. And I told her, like you said, I don't understand what you're feeling. I can relate to what you're feeling. And one thing I do know, only thing I always tell somebody is sometimes with time, it can get easier. But I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you God needed another angel, or sometimes we say things that don't need to be said. There's no word I don't want to hear. The best thing somebody said to me when I lost the mother of my child, I got everybody texting me and wanting to talk. I didn't want to talk to no one. There was a couple people that said, hey, bro, I just want you to know I love you, and when you're ready to talk, I'm here. That was what I needed to hear. That was I needed to hear. That was the best thing anybody could say to me. When people were like, oh, you know, God does everything for, I get that, but I don't need to hear that right now. Right. I don't want to hear that. Just give me a hug and tell me you love me, and when I'm ready to talk, I can talk. And that's the best medicine. That's so I didn't tell her, give her no phrases or anything. I said, it hurts. I know it does, but I'm here to talk about it. So good. So good. And I just had my new landlord, actually, he lost his wife 4 weeks ago. And I don't think he's really talked too much to too many people about it. And he was talking to me about it, and he started crying. And at that moment, I just said, can I just give you a hug? And I gave him a hug, and I said, just know that if you ever need to talk about it, I'm here. And if you just want to cry, it's okay. And he messaged me the next day, or 2 days later, I met him for my application, and we talked again, and he cried again. And I said, well, here comes another hug, Bill. Right. But I told him that, and I got a message from him that just said, I appreciate you just allowing me to talk about my wife. And it reminded me of what a blessing that I had with the time that I had from her. And I didn't say anything like God, like you just said, like God needed another angel. It was her time. You know what I mean? No, that's not what somebody that's grieving wants to hear. And I love that you say that, because so many people out there do, and it's not, listen, it's not because they're inconsiderate or they're, they just don't know what to say. So if you can take anything from this also, you guys, nobody knows what to say, but when you've been through it, you learn what not to say, honestly.
You learn what not to say. So when people are telling you that, like, use those tools. Like if you're walking into a funeral home or whatever, and you don't know what to say to the person, just say what Marvin said. Like, I love you. If you ever want to talk, I'm here for you.
That's it.
Or when you're ready to talk or whatever you want to say. Don't say, don't be like, oh, I understand. Yeah, just don't. Just hug. I love you. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. And that's, I think very important. We've went all over the place with this, haven't we, again?
Yes,
yeah, I love it though. And I think that we're definitely gonna have to do another one. But one other thing I wanted to say that you said, I don't know, do you follow Trent Shelton at all?
Don't know what it is.
Okay, well, you should start following him. But
Okay.
one thing that he's really good about relationships and just stuff. But one thing that he says is, and you said this too, is my transparency will lead to someone else's transformation. So I feel like when I heard that from him, I was like, man, that is powerful. I printed it up. I hung it on my mirror in my bathroom because it's like, it's so true. David Goggins says the same thing, man. You put your story on a billboard. People need to hear that what people go through, they go through shit every day. Everybody goes through something, but we can get through that. And to know that somebody else gets through it is a big thing to help somebody else get through it. And I don't think God gave you a story and had you keep living, or he gave me a story and had me keep living for no reason. He gave it to us for us to share, not to keep to ourselves. It's a gift that we're here. And if we're not sharing that gift and opening it up to people every day, then shame on us.
Yes.
Shame on us. We're going to get to heaven one day and he's going to be like, damn it. I told you, I gave you a story of hope and you didn't share it. Why?
Wow.
Why? I let you live. Why did you share that? Right?
Wow.
So I love that you speak out loud with your recovery. I love that you speak out loud about your love for God. I love that I met you. I mean, I just think it's great. And, we talk about talking on stages one day. I'd love to have you over here and me over here. And we're just like laying it out to people like, here it is, So, is there anything you want to add before we wrap this up today? But we're going to do another one soon.
Other than just leaving that person that just may be struggling, whether it's addiction or just with life, to reach out. I don't know where that just like, reach out. Because like you just said, no one's really being like, people are waiting for here, but we need people. I never reached out. Like I never really reached out. There's people out here. We really have no excuse today because there are people and resources out here today. It's just our pride. We got to get over ourselves. We have to get over ourselves. We have to stop thinking that no one wants to hear us. And because of circumstances, because of situations we've been in where someone didn't want to hear us, that's not everyone. That was one thing I had to learn too. Because of the encounters I had, I blamed all humanity for certain encounters when it's not all humanities that's like that. And you got to remember some of the environments that we're meeting ignorance in. So if you're in the right, see, I try to blame because I'm in the club that everybody's the same way. Well, guess what? You was in the club that developed that thought pattern. If you weren't in the club, you wouldn't have thought like that. Some of these, so I'm like, the wrong encounters, don't put that all on humanity. Don't blame everybody. Even the wrong relationship with a girl, don't blame every woman. The wrong relationship with a guy, don't blame every man for that. Don't do that. Because there is somebody out there that will give you the love and support you need in a time when you may not have it for yourself. You just got to reach out.
Yeah, I love that. Reach out. That's so good. So good. So you guys, Marvin's on TikTok. How would they find you on TikTok?
Recovery_coach_Marv.
Okay. Yeah, you guys follow him on TikTok if you're on TikTok, because he's such an inspiration. I love watching your lives. I love watching your TikToks. And I know you're just going to keep growing and changing so many lives with what you're doing. And I'm just blessed that God put you on my TikTok page, because I don't know how it happened, but I was scrolling. I see this guy and I'm like, oh, wait, I got to message him like, hey, I do a story of hope. I have a podcast. And you were so receptive to it. And I'm just blessed and honored to have you on here with me. So I just want to.
I'm grateful that you gave me the opportunity to share and be transparent in this atmosphere like that. I also want to add too, I started a YouTube channel and I I fell off from it, but I got a lot of inspirational videos up there too. And that's at Recovery Coach Marv. You can find me on YouTube. So
Okay.
I'm trying to get back in that. And you know, Tammy, we'll talk outside of here too, because the relationships that are healthy for me today, and this is for anyone out there, cherish them. If you come across someone that is genuine and that really has your best interest, don't look at that as just a moment. Don't just, okay, like I'm not just now, okay, Tammy, thanks for the podcast. I want Tammy as a friend in my life.
Yes. Yeah.
She can help me. I can help her. Like that's a friend. So hold on to the encounters and cherish the people that we do have in our lives that can help us along the way.
Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to wrap it up for today, but it was so fun talking to you. I can't wait just to see where this journey goes, you know, with our friendship. And I can't wait to meet your wife and your family and all that. And we didn't even say, where are you from? We didn't even tell anybody.
I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Nice. Nice. So Pennsylvania is not too far from Michigan, Ohio.
No, it's about like 8 hours.
Oh, that's nothing. I've drove across the United States 4 times in the last year, so we'll be good.
All right.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for getting on Hope. I just hope, as I say, that maybe you heard the story today and you're going to get up out of bed today and you're going to know that you can have a whole different life, you know, just by knowing that you can get through your struggle and get to it. Once again, Marv, thank you so much. And I hope you have an amazing night. Okay.
You too. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you so much.